Ed Egros and Joe Ostrowski with you, and our first golf major of the year is upon us. It is Masters Week, Joe. It is one of my favorite tournaments of the year, and it might be my second favorite major just behind the U.S. Open. I know I'm weird in that regard, but I do like to see golfers struggle because it makes me feel like I'm one of them. So maybe that's why I like the U.S. Open just a little bit more. But the Masters is a tradition unlike any other for a variety of reasons. It's the one tournament that goes to the same course every single year, or the one major that goes to the same course every single year. It comes at a time when, we are yearning to watch the best of the best in the world compete. The scenery, spring has sprung. Everything about the Masters is simply terrific. And there's one thing that I want to ask you about. It's this notion that when you are trying to handicap the Masters field, that some might come in and say, well, only 10 to 15 guys can conceivably win this tournament. And when you're looking at your own process, do you buy the idea that you're only looking at 10 to 15 guys and you're betting on a subset of that? Or is this a terrible notion and part of bad process?
I'm really curious where you stand on this, because I think handicapping the Masters is different, and maybe our process in golf betting should be similar from week to week. But I've got to say, Ed, I take the Masters, I put it in a bucket to the side, because it is different in that sense. Like, I am willing to listen to all sorts of arguments about the validity of course history and why it does matter and why it does not matter. And for those that bet golf, know a lot of those that are into the metrics think it does not matter all that much. You can't say that with this course. You just can't. The history is there. It's the same golfers. Now, you asked me the question about the list of 10 to 15, or maybe we can stretch that out to 20 golfers winning. Yeah, a lot of times if you're betting an outright and you're looking for a bomb at Augusta, maybe you're betting on a debutante, well, good luck, because it's probably not going to happen. I mean, a lot of the times it's wasted money. Am I still going to do it sometimes with certain players that I like? Yes, I will. But I don't think that's a bad notion at all, because there is a reason. If you look at a graph of course history and where guys finish and where players that don't have any experience, that don't know these greens at all, where they finish, I mean, it's obvious. You need experience and you need some success here before you're able to truly break through and win. So that is not my opinion most weekends, but when it comes to this course, that's where I stand. Like, the list is not that long, and that's what's interesting, why so many people love it. We don't have crazy upsets for the most part. We know the players that are going to be there on Sunday, and they are there on Sunday. And a year ago when Scheffler won, it made sense, because over the year prior, it was, this guy's the best golfer in the world, and it felt like it was his time, and that's exactly what occurred.
So, to the original idea that there are only 10 to 15 golfers who can win the Masters, I don't buy that, because I think if you look at, say, when Mark O'Meara won or when Danny Willett won, I don't think they would have been in that 10 to 15 list those particular years. There are times when someone random does win the Masters. And this is coming from someone, I'm a data scientist, and yes, I trust, the golf metrics out there, no doubt about it. But I do believe in course history for this one. There are two golf tournaments that I do believe course history matters. One is the Masters, and the other one, strangely, is, and it seems random, but it's Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth. It does seem like the same golfers do well in Fort Worth year after year after year. And I think part of that may just be it comes at a very odd time of the year around the majors, around the PGA Championship, to where if you are playing it, then chances are you understand that course and you feel like you can do well. It is a shot maker's course. And so if you have that sort of prototype, then you're probably going to play it. If you're more of a bomber, then you're probably not going to play it. So, I think, selective bias might matter at Colonial, but when it comes to the Masters, course history does matter a good bit, at least as far as whenever I've crunched the numbers. Maybe others have different process. Other data scientists may have different processes, and that's fine. But to me, it does matter. And so when you are betting this tournament, how well golfers have performed there does matter a great deal. recent form matters a good bit. All the other things matter here.
Yep.
The reason why this tournament this year is going to be different is because you have the Live Golf Tour and you have other tours out there internationally and, Corn Ferry and all of that, where it's going to be really difficult to make adjustments as far as saying, okay, well, if this golfer's performed well at Live, then does that mean that recent form is good? When all of the best players were on the PGA Tour and on the European Tour, then, yeah, you can make, a discount or an advantage because you're playing against the best. The championship was a great example where you make slight adjustments and then figure out who has the best recent form and whose game currently is best suited for that particular course. That's going to be a lot tougher this year because you have different golfers of varying abilities coming from different places, and now you have to put them all together and figure out how well they're going to perform against each other. This is going to be a much tougher tournament to handicap than, say, in Masters in recent years.
I'm curious. We'll talk to Seamus McGee later this week before the tournament gets going from BetMGM. But I'm curious how the betting is being handled with those Live players, because early on, when it would come to the majors last year with the guys that are bolting over for Live, people did not want to bet on them, and you would find a lot longer odds on some top end players that those odds should not have been available, and they were. So how is that going to be handled from a betting perspective? Are people going to be willing to take that extra value that is being given to them? Because it feels like some of the numbers get out there so far. It's kind of like a tease, like, I dare you to bet on him. Please, somebody bet on him. Or that's the only way they're going to draw action on some players in the futures pool. So, yeah, the Live angle is also really, really interesting. And, I don't know these players, if it matters. The best players in the world, they've been through different things, but is the crowd going to turn on them if they're making a run on Sunday with some of these Live players? I mean, that is not something
Do they hate
see in
Dustin
golf.
Johnson that much? Yeah.
They might. They might. We've seen numbers on DJ we used to never see because people are not betting on him anymore. So, I mean, down there, it's usually support. In this sport, especially, you don't see crowds turn on golfers, but maybe that starts to happen if a guy's in the mix to win.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson 25-1 to win the Masters. I mean, that's incredible that we're having that kind of conversation. Brooks Koepka 33-1 to win the Masters, and this is someone who does have good course history there. Nearly won the tournament, just a couple of years ago. So that to me is fascinating. Also Cameron Smith 20-1. That's also an interesting one. But if there is one argument that I could make for the Live players, it's that it's the Brooks Koepka route, right? Someone who only cares about the majors and really nothing else. And you almost want to play fewer tournaments and, swing in competitive situations less frequently because it's all about tailoring your game, tailoring your schedule to make sure you are prepared for the Masters, for the U.S. Open, et cetera, et cetera. And so if the Brooks Koepkas of the world, it's all about, okay, revving up, making sure that you're playing your best by the time a major rolls around, is the Live Tour better for that than, say, the PGA Tour, where you're making sure you make the cut, you're making sure that, travel arrangements are taken, all of that stuff. That's the one area where I go, okay, maybe you're not playing against the best of the best because there's a sort of piecemeal competition here, on the Live Tour, and you're traveling the globe, all of that stuff. But if you are only caring about the majors and everything is being tailored to that, which tournament is best suited to get you going? And I don't have an answer for that right now. And that's going to be a really tough one to handicap. And that's the one area where if a Live Tour player wins, I wouldn't be surprised by it, but that's going to be a really tough rationale to take going forward.
The Koepka conversation is going to be an interesting one this week because Brooks at a major, 35-1 odds we have not seen in a very long time. Now, how much of his struggles in recent years was injury, or just he kind of peaked already? I mean, there could be an
Maybe.
element of that a little bit. He has missed the cut at the last two Masters. So if I look at other golfers that are at the same range as Koepka, I think I would rather bet on some of these other names. Zalatoris is right there at 35 to 1 as well. Matsuyama, a previous winner, he's 35 to 1. Corey Connors has unreal course history here, and he's also 35 to 1. He finished sixth. He's top 10 last 3 years in Augusta. Sam Burns, 35 to 1. He's been a very popular golfer. Sanjay Yim, 35 to 1. Victor Hovland, 35 to 1. So when I look at it from that perspective, it makes me think, you know what? Maybe Koepka is appropriately priced because it's been a few years since he's done anything at Augusta.
And he is a relative unknown at this point. And so
Yeah.
as far as that's concerned, I think that makes a lot of sense. I also care a good bit, about the approach game. One of the problems with looking at Live Tour players is that there just aren't stats out there, at least not easily, retrievable stats. You go to the Live Tour website or whatever, like it's hard to find strokes gained numbers there, because it's all about team competition or whatever. And so that to me is an incredibly difficult thing to sort of figure out. And, when I don't have the right information or the right numbers to look at, then I'm naturally going to shy away. And I think that's also part of, why the market is having to, figure out how to price these things. One guy, in terms of initial reactions before I get, a good bit deeper in my process, would be Colin Morikawa. Someone who has finished fifth at Augusta, someone who has perhaps the best approach game in the world. He's definitely someone that I want to look at 22 to 1.